Rohit, just coming to you, I just want to highlight the syndicate is seeing numbers coming in. So we've got more details. 2 1/3% lower on Syndicate Bank, not really selling off. Is sort of hard. It's we saw that initial reaction, then nothing. So profits, of course, we put out earlier 315 crores compared to 350 odd crore, which was expected. Gross NPLs 3.4%. So that's a 46 odd basis points increase in the gross NPL number. Net NPLs 2.2% compared to 1.88%. So that's about 32 odd basis points higher. Net NPLs. These are all quarter-on-quarter comparisons. Provisioning has gone up substantially. It's gone up by what? It's gone up by almost about 200 odd crores or so. The provisioning. And I think Syndicate Bank is also seeking approval from the government to do a QIP issuance. About 1100 crores odd is the size of the QIP for which it is seeking government approval. Net interest income is coming at about 1422 odd crores or so for Syndicate Bank. So that's the other thing which is coming about right now. More on this in a bit. There's a press conference at Bank of Baroda scheduled, and Syndicate Bank management will also be speaking, so we'll cut to that. Rohit, thanks for staying on. What's your view on the market, Rohit? Last we chatted, it looked like the things were stalling, going down a little bit, back with a bang. Today, of course, it's been holiday shortened, so off on. But what do you think? The uptrend is truly back, irrespective of what global markets, etc., are doing?
There is a good chance that the uptrend does come back, but we don't have a complete confirmation of that. It's been a good move because definitely when I looked at it in the early part of October, it looked like the whole world was shaking up, and I would have expected a much deeper correction even in India. But I think that didn't happen. The 7700 level held on, and you got a quick bounce back around the world on expectations that there's nothing really wrong. But some of the key macro issues have really not gone away. So really what you're seeing right now is an increase in volatility in the market. You're not there at the final top yet, so probably the market does have some time and place to go. And you might see this volatility continue, which means the big kind of down and then up move that you saw around the world, which led to some panic selling here and then again a new high. I was expecting some kind of volatility in early part of October, but then I thought, the kind of selling we saw, that maybe that won't be the case. But right now that seems to be the case. So I think it'll likely continue. You're going to see these 300, 400 point moves up and down over and over again till you've really completed what I call a distribution phase. And in that process, how far to the upside can you stretch? I think one of the levels that I thought of, which is around 83.50, 83.80, we're already there. This is one point. So if something is to go wrong, this is where it goes wrong. But if we continue to hold on to 82.70 and start heading up again, then I think it will become possible to say that you're into a bigger rally that can last for another month or two. But we don't have confirmation of that yet. And there is still considerable risk, I think, in markets, and volatility is still around. So losing a couple of 100 points unexpectedly is something that you need to be prepared for.
What about global correlations, Rohit? S&P's made a new high.
Yeah,
Europe
the global correlations are there.
And all of this despite the dollar rally.
Yeah, so that's the big question. The big question that I'm really getting is that, you got such a big dollar rally. Why is it not having any impact on the currency, which is the USD INR? The easy answer is to say, oh, well, maybe the RBI is intervening. And I've been introspecting on it. And I've just written a note which I was about to release before I came on. And I was studying the relationship of the yen. Essentially, if you see, that's been the big story of the last 2 years. It's not been the US, because they've been printing for several years now. It's been Japan, and we often ignore the yen carry trade existence, or the size of it. But when I just plotted the USD JPY over the Nifty, what I found is that almost a couple of medium-term tops were associated with tops in the USD JPY, which means that as long as you're seeing a devaluation of the yen and you're seeing a rally in the JPY, which means just like you've seen it in the last month from, move from 101 all the way to 115, that's like a 15% move. During those periods, you do see the USD yen mover, but it moves up very little. And therefore, the markets continue to be, positive because you could have, carry trade money coming in from that place. And which is why I think the relationship between our currency and the dollar index, which has the yen as one of its second most important components, does not show up, So even if you go back a year from today, when we actually saw the first panic in the currency and in interest rates, the yen actually peaked in May of 2013, and then it started to correct, and that's when our markets corrected as well, and the currency actually went all the way from 56 to 69. So that big move did not really occur along with the dollar. We tend to expect that it will all happen at the same time, but there's a huge lead lag that takes place. So what we have, the situation that we are facing today is, I think there's a first sign that US bond yields, which had fallen very sharply, have started to rise again. And my sense is that this is the start of a trend, a big trend that will last for several months in terms of rising yields. At what point we'll consider it important, let's see. But I think the point where you'll consider it important will be exactly when the JPY, USD JPY actually peaks. And I think we are very close to that point because I was looking at this as a fifth wave move from around 104.5. I had set a target of somewhere between 115 and 120, and we're almost there. So I think within days you might see a peak in the USD JPY, and that would become a key reason for a risk off trade rather than really looking at the dollar index. I think as far as India is concerned, that might be more important than just the dollar index itself.
So basically the carry trade going away, becoming less attractive.
The carry trade going away, and it's probably the yen trade rather than the dollar trade, which a lot of people associate with. I don't think so much of that comes here. It's probably the yen trade. When that unwinds is when you'll see pressure build up on the Indian markets.
But the Bank of Japan, if anything, is doubling down on its its own QE program, right, Rohit?
Yeah, it is. What tends to happen is markets are usually way ahead of these moves. If you see, the yen was all the way down to 80, a couple of years back, and it started making those moves on the Bank of Japan actually starting its printing program. So the program is not new. And when I refer to May 2013, the program was still on, but you had a big move when it had already moved from the mid 80s, some 85 all the way to the mid 90s. And then it paused and suddenly corrected a couple of points. And moment it did that, we saw a deep correction here. We saw rising yields in the US. And I think if I put that setup in place, I think you're almost at the point where the USD JPY tops, because it's already moved up 15% in expectation of that printing. So moment you get that high and bond yields are already rising, I think you have the very same setup on those two parameters compared to what we had in May 2013, and I think then that's probably what we should be watching.
And it's kind of, would you, by the time that happens, the impact shows up here, I mean, what would you say, Rohit? Market like India?
Well, you'd start pricing in risk. I think right now people are still waiting for things to move on the ground. Everyone is clear that will take a year or two to actually happen. Money is still chasing the same stocks it was chasing 5 months ago, which are mostly global theme-based stories. So I think, and those are becoming expensive. So somewhere when you get the unwind, because you see the main reason why markets correct deeply is essentially when you build up a lot of leverage. Now it's hard to, this time around, the main reason being associated with our markets being, relatively positive, or rather more, being able to hold out against a lot of risk, is because we don't have too much of build-up of positions in the domestic market. The margin funding that has happened this time around with brokers is probably not the size that it was at, like at the 2007 top. So a lot of investors have actually moved away. The main money which is really driving the moves is essentially the money that is coming from outside. And the biggest risk essentially then comes from outside. It's not really internal.
Yeah. What is your view, Rohit, on this thing that gets talked about, that macros are improving, and people talk about the fact that there is little else in terms of alternatives, in terms of equities around the world. India is doing better than what it had been last 5 or 6 years, and it will continue to do better. Growth will gradually pick up. Inflation, we've seen the worst. So they say, well, point to countries this scale, size, which are doing or which have prospects as good as India over the next couple of years, and hence we are okay. There are no negatives. So if global markets go down 20%, we'll go down 5-7%. Do you agree with that, Rohit?
That may be true with the 20%, 10% theorem, but the question really is, will it stop at 20%? And I think that's the risk I'm trying to price in. We are not pricing in the possibility that the US could go into a recession or be in a deeper bear market over a year. We are probably thinking that that's not likely. We're not thinking that interest rates will rise. However, the writing is almost on the wall that they will rise over a year. And we are not pricing that in either. We are not taking what the RBI itself is saying on interest rates seriously. It's being probably not. It's being considered that he's being too strict. He should just let it loose and let the party go on. But I think he has his sights on what is happening around the world, and I think that's the main risk right now. 4 years back, whenever I spoke of the counter-type cycle, I had inflation on my mind. Definitely inflation is one of the factors that we are seeing cooling off. Falling commodity prices around the world are definitely helping. So that leaves us with the last part, which is getting the investment and interest rate cycles intact. And I think that's the last leg, which means you need money to get invested and you need low rates. And the rate cycle is where I'm not sure that we've really peaked. My view remains that the Indian GSEC would probably head to 11% before it heads lower. And once it does that, then it'll probably head much lower than a lot of us are even imagining right now. But we are not done with that cycle. That's where my view stands, and which is why I see risk continuing to remain in our market.
Right. Okay. So what would you do right now, Rohit? What kind of trades would you put on? Yeah.
No, so we do look at the market because we have to trade if the market does move against our macro opinion. See, the macro opinion is what you expect as a risk, and in general, you're always watchful of that. But the stance that you're not able to take is that, just sleep over it. So when you're not sleeping over it, moment the market turns, yes, you have to be bullish and look for potential breakouts. There are some possible. For example, if Reliance Industries goes above, say, 1020, I think it would create a case for a very good buy for it to move up much more, maybe back to the 1300, 1500 mark. And such kind of a move would then mean that the Nifty also going above 8350 could go all the way to maybe 8700, 8800. So that's the next trade to look for. And the next 2 days, I'll be looking for signs as to whether we are breaking out to that next range. And if so, then I think once again, you look at stocks which have been performing, whether it's banking, stocks like Larsen. And I expect Reliance to be one of the guys to do well in this move if it works out, because it's been a laggard. It's retraced almost 60% of its gains that it made last year. So it's been one of the worst performers recently. And the setup is really good for it to do well if things turn out well in the near term. So we are looking at whether risk is off the table for the next 1 to 2 months. But like I said, all these indications from the yen and interest rate are very close. They're not very far away. So if those don't really affect the market immediately, and we do get an upward break, then we could look at another 200-300 points on the upside on the Nifty, and then we'd look for trades to play that on.
Rohit, it's a pleasure. Thanks very much for your time and that view. As always, appreciate it. Have a good weekend, Rohit. See you next week. Take a break. Back in 2.